Yes, indeed, he's a GOAT. If you can convince Nkosingiphile Ngcobo ukuthi Bernard Parker, Unange, and Cole Alexander are better than you, then you definitely are good at what you're doing and you probably are the greatest. We all know ukuthi Nkosingiphile is such a good player. However, Stuart Baxter has managed not to only lie to us and say there are players who are better than Ngcobo, but to also make Ngcobo believe that. I'm gonna read something for you guys and then uzwe ukuthi how painful this thing sounds. I think it's just a matter of the guys that are playing. They are doing very well. Come on. Come on, Mshini. He doesn't believe that, does he? He says it's a matter of guys who are playing. They are doing very well. He continues to say, so it's not easy to get into the team. So I think we have a positive competition. Oh man, it's just sad. It's sad really to hear ukuthi Ngcobo has to humble himself to a point yokuthi he has to lie to himself because the coach has told him ukuthi he's not good enough because there are players who are better than him. And this is what Baxter said when he was asked why Ngcobo is not playing, etc, etc. And then he says he's competing with our senior players, right? And he says it is my fault for not getting the best out of him. And it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there because he's that arrogant. He says, and it's his fault in adaptation. Whoa. Last I checked, you don't just get adapted to a system by starting 5 games in a season. And in those 5 games too that you start, in one of them you also score a cracker of a goal. And then in the other matches that you start, the position is changed. How are you going to adapt if today you are playing number 6 and the following game you are playing a winger? Which position are you supposed to adapt to in 5 games? And in the other games that you start, uqala towards the end of the matches. Let's go through the matches that Ngcobo has played and the players that Baxter has actually played when Ngcobo wasn't playing. The first 4 games he played Unange, Parker, and Alexander. He wasn't there, Mshin. And in the 2 games that followed then, he then played 2 of them, which was Unange, no Alexander. Still no Mshin. Also adapting from the start, from the get-go, then it was clear Uti was not part of his plans. You understand? And now, 6 games, you're a head coach, and the best, probably the best player from the previous season doesn't start the first 6 games of the new season. It already raised a flags to everyone who started complaining with Taibo. What is actually going on? Why is the best player from the previous season not being played? Are you telling me that at that time Unange no Alexander had adapted better than Ngcobo was already part of the team? It doesn't make sense. And then in the 6th game, that's why we lost 4-1 to Royal AM. And once we lost 4-1 to Royal AM, boom, he plays Ngcobo. All of a sudden, after being humiliated by Royal AM, now you're playing Ngcobo after losing. Because now you're playing Ngcobo to basically say, hey bro, we lost 4-1, now I need you to come and rectify this. So I'm starting you against Galans. And he started him against Galans, so he still needed him. And then he played him again, Glalona Mazulu, and then he played him with Ichipa. So in those 3 games, he then decided, I don't think he's adapting well. Now I'm not gonna play him. Mind you, Unange no Alexander have played all these matches. To this point, Unange no Alexander have been playing all these games, and Alexander is okay, asimbeke siding. But Unange ubizwe yaboza consistently, and he was still getting the stats in all those matches. But Ngcobo comes in and he plays 3 games. 3 games. Aqala, and then after that, we're on bench again. And you know who he plays. You know who he plays to show Uti this is not about adaptation. He brings in Akomu, who had not played up to this far. And now usedlaliso Akomu, and then Ngcobo is on the bench. Which adaptation are you talking about? If you're not giving me time to play, when am I gonna get time to adapt? It doesn't make sense. And then again against Stellenbosch, he plays the 3. Nange, Alexander, Park. Pirates, he plays the 3. Maritzburg, he plays the 3. Amazulu, he plays the 3. And ukusuka lapho afaka uNjabulo Ngcobo kwi-midfield, which means ispace futhi ebesingadlalwa uNkosingiphile usesinikeza i-defender. I-defender bengadlala kwi-position yalo akhiphe uMatoho because naye he's been costing us all season. Kwiswallows wadlaliswa akuma again and then wambuyisa sizidlala nasekhukhuni. One match that I feel like was closest to okay, I guess, because there it was a 3-4-3 as usual, but then most players were in their positions because kwakudlala off-ross la right la soon kwakudlala uBlom na Nkosingiphile. And that was a good game for Chiefs because I win accountable as well. We scored early too to show ukuthi if you play these players in their positions and you give these young players an opportunity, they will show, they will prove their worth to you. But no, they don't get played. After Sekukune, we played against Royal AM, and Ngcobo also played. It's not always going to be a savior. Come on. We lost. And then Maritzburg United on bench a foot. So he gave him 2 more games, and then he benched him again. Because he lost against Royal AM was now Ngcobo's fault. So that means he doesn't play. But then on the 80th minute, the score was 1-0 and he needed someone to put the game to bed. Ngcobo comes in, he scores the winning goal against Maritzburg. Every time he comes in, you see that there's something that he does. At times, and most of the times, the time is limited, but he tries. And you see when he comes in, he's doing something. Test Galaxy, after he had scored against Maritzburg, should now was being rewarded for scoring against Maritzburg. He plays against Test Galaxy, starts, but then he's played out of position. What do you expect? Adaptation, right? So if you are talking about adaptation, that means umdlalisa 6 and yamhlul, or umdlalisa as a winger yamhlul, or umdlalisa as number 8 yamhlul, or umdlalisa as number 10 yamhlul. One position. But you can't expect a player to adapt. Adapt to what? Don't get a player to play 7 position and expect them to adapt to one position. Kanjan. Next was Cape Town City. He didn't play. And then it was a Baroka. Nah. Again, he didn't play him. Against Pirates, he played Umanyama, who had just come back from a long-term injury. So now you are telling me that a player who's returning from a long-term injury is a better option than a player who's been there and performing and producing things here and there whenever he's been given a chance? It just shows that this has nothing to do with Ngcobo's performance, but more about the coach's preference of the senior players or older players rather than trusting abantu who are capable. There is a saying, they say, if you are good enough, you are old enough. But with Baxter, it's like, if you are not old enough, you are not good enough. Against the Arrows, he played Unange again, and then he played the back 3. Mind you, the Arrows I'm talking about hadn't won a match in their previous 7. And Tina, we set up with the back 3. Ngabe we set up with a more attacking team because we needed that win, and the Arrows had not been showing with their goal threat. But Tina, we treated them as if they were going to be goal threat. And by us lacking players who are good at the ball, we played right into their hands. They expected us ukuthi sokhahlele ball. They expected us ukuthi zazama ukunikeza uNukovic. Yet we had a player of equality kaNkosingiphile ebenchini. It's disappointing because you see from time to time when you go through all these fixtures, when you see all these performances, ukuthi Ngcobo could have done better here. He would have. And then against Chipper, he flat out benched him. And then when he did make some substitutions, he brought on a defender. It just tells you ukuthi mentality yalomjita ngeke ungitshela ukuthi you are playing against Chipper and your brightest change, you vele udlala back 3, but still mawushintsha someone, you bring in a defensive player, not a defensive midfielder or something, a defender, and you have an attacking player on the bench. How? Phela futhi against the Chipper, there was the chance yokuthi since the game was ours, bekulula ukuthi afake uNgcobo ukuthi okay, go kill off the game. How fuck defend? It's not like khona ama games where you playing and you see that you are being attacked and you could do with an extra defender. That wasn't that game. That was the game to kill off. Oh, you fuck defend. Now you're telling me ukuthi Shuti when he says Ngcobo is competing against senior players, he's also competing against defenders, not against the attacking players. And in our most recent game against the Galaxy, he came on later and then he changed the game, and we saw was washaya la shaya pali bola beno hade. We could see ukuthi now sekufika abantu who can make a difference. And yet you are telling me ukuthi he hasn't adapted. Shuthi nasibonke ngekho phela. Everyone, like it, this is one of those topics that everyone, like or hate Chiefs, agrees on. Ngcobo should be starting. It's guaranteed ukuthi nange Parker or Cole bazoyiqala igame. Mawuthatha ukubheka those players, uParker is a decent player. Ukuthi manje he's old. You cannot expect him to always play the entire game. Unang is not offering us anything. Alexander, now you can't expect him to play the entire game. You have fresh legs at benching. You have fresh legs and you do not play them. And you are telling me that they are not adapting. How about what happens then when Cole cannot track back later on in the matches? We've seen it when we watch them play. They are brilliant, but at the end of the day, they lack the legs towards the end of the matches, and that's when we could lose games. And even during the game when it's like 0-0, you need someone who's still energetic, who's still young. But no, when you are choosing to play the senior players who will just offer you keeping the ball and passing it sideways, backwards, no one is driving forward like Nkosingiphile does. It's really disappointing to see what this coach is doing. And I hope Nkosingiphile is not really convinced ukuthi Nange, Parker and Alexander better than him. I hope he really said that because he was trying to be humble. What do you guys think of this whole situation, Nkosingiphile at Kaizer Chiefs? Let me know down in the comment section below. And check out this video. I am sure you will like it. And until next time, remember, equals and pay no more.